A Build Hatch developed production.
Hello, I'm Aaron Kyle and welcome to another episode of Build Hatch. On this week's episode of Build Hatch, I got to sit down in Melbourne and chat with Jason from Multi-Dwell Developments. As you'll hear, Jason and I had a very entertaining chat, and I loved hearing how Jason started his life in construction just by cold calling on construction sites looking for an apprenticeship. Fast forward to today, and Jason is a leading building contractor with big aspirations in Melbourne. Just by being keen and putting himself out there, he has even been selected by a leading accounting software provider to promote our beloved construction industry. Jason is a passionate guy and works extremely hard with great family values. So let's get into it. Jason from Multi-Dwell Developments, welcome to Build Hatch.
Thanks, Aaron.
No worries. Now, we're here recording this in Melbourne. So like all our guests on Build Hatch, we always like to go back to the very beginning and find out about our guests and how they got into construction. But before we do that, let's take it back all the way to the very beginning. So did you grow up here in Melbourne?
Yeah, I grew up in Balwyn North. I had a nice childhood. Played a lot of sport, a lot of soccer. I had a good childhood. I had a brother that I grew up with. My mum and dad, they're still together. Yeah, basically went to a little primary school called Bellevue. There was only like 100 students. And then, went to Kew High School. But I wasn't that good academically.
So you're a practical kid, as we say?
Yeah, I was more hands-on, but I didn't actually know what I wanted to do. So I finished year 12 and my mum was working for the VBA at the time. And she's like, why don't you become a building surveyor? So I applied for the Diploma of Building Surveyor at Holmesglen. I did that for a whole year, but it was huge hours, like 9 to 5. I was falling asleep in class. I actually failed a couple of subjects. And then my mum's like, the year after, why don't you go back and do it? And then I got a couple of weeks in. I'm like, nah, stuff that. I'm going to go do a carpentry apprenticeship.
9 till 5 is a big day for a kid.
It was huge.
Out of school hours.
I was falling asleep in class.
So what did you do? You applied for a carpentry apprenticeship?
Yeah, I applied for like 6 months online, but I couldn't find anything. So I did a pre-app during that time. And then as I was applying, I wasn't getting anywhere. So my mum's like, all right, let's drive around. I didn't have my license at the time. I think I was just 18, just getting it. My mum drove me to some sites. The second guy we went to, I remember this day, it was in Templestowe. Some Aussie guys from Frankston. Yeah, they gave me a trial. I was there for a year for that job. And then, because they had another job.
Hang on. This is a cool story. So your mum drove you around. You just pulled up at a construction site. And what, your mum...
Not scared, just... No, my mum was driving.
Yeah, did she get out as well? She said...
No. I got out of the car. I'm like, hey, mate, I'm looking for an apprenticeship. I'll work hard.
So did she like park around the corner or did she park out the front?
We pulled up on the side street.
Yeah, right. So there on the site.
On the side street, I hopped out. The guy was called Randall Pierce from Ballam Developments back in the peninsula. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, went through one guy. He said no. The second guy, he said, yep.
On that day, the second guy, he said, yep, we'll take you.
Yeah, I started straight away.
Like the next day?
Yeah.
I love it. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So residential construction, that's where you started?
Yeah, residential. Yep. He was building 3 townhouses in Templestowe on a corner block. So I got to experience, every bit of everything, framing, lock-up, fix, the whole build, but in the carpentry side of it.
So what was that like?
Oh, mate, it was awesome. They went pretty hard on me because my background's like Greek, but like I'm Aussie. But yeah, they went a bit hard on me, but it was good. They roughed me in and it was great learning. I was there for a year and then they had another job down the peninsula way. So it was too far for me to travel. So we ended things about a year in. And then I went with another guy. I forgot his name, but I was there for about a month. It was for like the worst money, like around $250. And we were just doing lockup, just buzzing walls. And he'd make me work really long hours. And then, as I was playing, because I play soccer, I played for pretty high up here in Heidelberg, like in the MPL. One of my teammates, he was actually running a carpentry crew. He's called 13 Developments now, but at the time it was called Rixepi Homes. So I actually went with him and he had about another 3 or 4 apprentices. And all we do was just talk about soccer all day and just spray him. It was the best. Really good times.
That's great.
Yeah.
Excellent story. See, these are the stories that we don't get to hear. But I love that, particularly your mum driving around, because that's the kind of initiative that gets you somewhere these days. Not just a young apprentice starting out looking for an apprenticeship and getting his foot in the door, but also for builders as well, like cold calling and knocking on architects' offices.
Yeah, the thing is, I didn't have like an uncle or my dad or no one was in building and construction. I couldn't go to anyone, so I was sort of in the deep end, and I just had to put myself out there, and yeah, it worked out well.
I'm interested to know, what were you wearing? Like, were you dressed up in a suit and tie, or what did you wear?
The thing is, I didn't know what to wear, right? So I think I was wearing like blue plumbing pants, blue baggy plumbing pants. A week in, they're like, go get some khaki pants, man.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome. All right, so finishing that, did you come out of your apprenticeship after 3 years or 4 years?
I think it was about 3.5. So that guy, the soccer player that I was framing with, he actually got his building license about a year after that. So I had to go with his apprentice that was running a crew. But then I went out with a team called Alpha Q, this guy called Nam from Footscray area. He did a lot of townhouse developments. I was about third and fourth year. I finished my apprenticeship with him. Yeah, and then I started subbing, but I wasn't making much money. Like I was on really bad wages subbing, and I got sick of it. So I'm like, stuff it. I'll go back to school. I did a Cert 4 in building construction at Master Builders, and I did a fast track work health and safety course in Cert 4. The last week of finishing my Cert 4 in both building and construction and OH&S, I actually applied for a job with JG King, steel frame volume builder in Melbourne. They're pretty big, as a junior supervisor and OH&S manager for building 12 townhouses in Glenroy. So yeah, I got that, and like that was my first like apprenticeship in sort of building, supervising.
Yeah, right. And also, too, I might add, is that exposure to steel frame construction as well.
Well, yeah, it was really good because I didn't know anything about steel frames. I actually, looking at the steel frames and the framers, I was like, man, I don't want to do this. This is the worst. They're wearing gloves. They're just grinding stuff. I'm used to getting the PAS load out and just shooting.
Yeah, it's different, isn't
It's
it?
so much easier as well to recipro and just fix things. It's harder with steel.
For people listening to this, like, that's a pretty good lead into discussing the differences. We've all seen in 2021 that these major increases in supplies, including timber, and we have seen increases in steel as well. So, what are the, I guess, workability differences from a carpenter's perspective in working with these materials?
I think if you've started with steel and you're used to steel, you'll stay in steel. But as a chippy going from framing with timber to move to steel, they don't like it. Because as a supervisor, I was putting my mates on that were just chippies in timber, and they absolutely hated it. Cold days, putting a screw in and just it would misplace it, it wouldn't go in. Wearing gloves because it was cold. Yeah, a lot of chippies. If you're in timber, you don't really like it, but you can like it, but it takes a bit of time to get used to it.
Yeah, it takes like you said, I think it takes a lot of different planning. I wouldn't say more planning, but it's different planning because, like you said, you can't
Mm,
just cut it off with the recipro. It's got to fit.
yeah.
So, how was that job? Sort of in that introduction to a supervisory type role.
I actually loved it because I was like sick and tired of being on the tools. So I'm like, oh wow, this is going to be great. So yeah, so we built 12 townhouses in Glenroy. It was called 32 Beckett Street. I had an old school Greek supervisor, which suited me well. Like the construction manager loved it. Me with him. Yeah, I learnt so much. It was crazy. But also OH&S side of things. So I had to. It was for the DHHS or something. Like some guys would come down from Perth and they'd give me inspection. Like they'd come and do inspection. So I'd have to put leads, on poles, induct everyone.
Yeah, so it was fully legit. It was a different level that you were used to in normal residential construction, I guess, where things can be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, 100%. So after that, we built those 12 townhouses. I actually went on to be a supervisor for them in the north, and I was building, singles, couple doubles. Yeah, and that lasted maybe another year. That was really great learning as well for where I am now. After that, I actually got a job at ATCO I was the Victorian Safety Health Officer for ATCO. Have you heard of ATCO? You know the yellow top
Yeah,
sheds?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I got I got a job there, but I didn't like it. I was in a room all day on the laptop, and then I went out to sites as well. But yeah, I really like building instead. Building homes,
Yeah,
renovations.
that's more, I guess. facilities construction as
Yeah,
opposed to,
it's
building
modular.
construction, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that's
was
right.
modular builds.
So what did you do when you thought, well, I don't like this? What am I going to do next? What did you do?
I went back on the tools for a little bit. I just did some commercial construction with building like handrails, stairs at a place called um, Workplace Access and Safety. That's it.
So what was your attraction to the safety side of things? Because that seemed to be like a bit of a common theme back then.
Look, I just felt there was a lot of pressure in volume building, especially coming up. I just thought I wanted something a little bit easier, but that was probably more pressure going into that because it's more safety. You got to be aware all the time, because there's a lot of cranes involved. Yeah, I wanted something easier, but it ended up being harder. But I learned along the way.
Yeah, you just went with it and embraced it.
Yeah, because I had the certificate. I'm like, why not? Why get a job in safety, see how it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. So then what?
Then well, my uncle who lived with me, I grew up with him. He had mental health and he passed away from a suicide.
Oh,
So
terrible.
yeah, after that, I wanted to change my life. Yeah, so I thought, stuff it, I'm going to become a builder. So I went back with my old boss. He's a big builder now called 13 Developments. I went back with him for about, I think it was like 8 months because he was going to be my reference for my license. So I did a couple builds with him and yeah, I got my building license and then it all started from there. So yeah,
What was that experience like getting your builder's license?
it was the best experience. Oh, it was hard. So I went back to school with a guy called Don from License to Build. I really recommend him for anyone that wants to get their building license. Um, so you study for 6 months. It's night school, Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Saturday, and then you can do one-on-one sessions at the end. But I reckon he's one of the best in Victoria for if you want to get your license.
Yeah, great. So that took 12 months, did it?
Oh yeah, because the VBA they took forever as well. I had to do my first theory test. So like the paperwork test, I had to go in, do a test. And then once you pass that, then you do the interview. You sit with an assessor for like maybe 1 or 2 hours and he just creams you. So you've got to you've got to know your stuff.
It's very confronting, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think once you know your stuff and the assessor knows that you know your stuff, like it goes a bit easier on you.
And you didn't have any special connections with your mum working in the VBA?
Look, she knew all of them, but she couldn't do anything.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Look, as I've said on many episodes before, VBA has a very good reputation for being one of the toughest jurisdictions in the country in terms of people getting their builder's
Mm,
license, which is a high bar, but a very good one to have.
yeah.
All right. So, did you have any plans in place or any contacts lined up so that if you were to pass that builder's license at the time, what were you going to do and how you're going to do it?
Well, I've spoken to a few old school builders and mates and that have got their license, and they just said, it's good to start small. So I started doing a lot of bathroom rent. Well, actually, my first job, I was on the block.
You're on the block.
Yeah, High Pages
The f-
Challenge, the first episode this year.
Hang on a minute. So let's take this back for a second. Your first job was on the block as
Yeah,
a builder.
yeah. So
So
it's crazy.
how did that work out?
So I was still working for my old boss, and then High Pages called me, and I think Matt from Elevate Building Group. I think he dropped out of the challenge. I think that's what they said.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Do you want to go on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go on."
So you were listed on High Pages, obviously.
Yeah, I was on High Pages. They saw my good my good reviews for like building decks and doing some small jobs.
So when you're a carpenter
Yeah,
as such, before you had a builder's license, there was your
yeah,
profile,
yeah.
and then they've
But I think I must have changed it to builder just before they called.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how it happened, but it was really great exposure being on there. I was a builder for the block for the Twins. We came second in the challenge. It was great learning because it's nothing compared to what it is on the TV. It's full
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
big
Yeah.
days. They can edit out what they want.
Yeah, they want the pressure.
Yeah, I think I started rolling. I started painting, and then one of the contestants came out, and they're like, "Only contestants can paint," and it was a big thing. I was on the Daily Mail, and yeah, it was pretty big.
That's amazing. So what did they do when they rang you up and said, "Look, we're from the block. Are you interested?" Or
No, it was High Pages that did it. It went through
oh,
High
High
Pages for the
Pages,
first
right?
challenge. Yeah.
So that was excellent exposure, obviously.
Oh, it was great exposure for my company because I had only been. It was my first job, but it only came out, say, like a month ago, right? So I'm only 6 months into my company. So for so many people to see it on TV, all my relatives and my wife's relatives from like Adelaide, Perth, like they just randomly saw me. Yeah, it was really good. And now whenever I go do a quote, you say you're on the block, they think highly of you, It's
Yeah, that's right.
easy to get work.
What about the name Multi-Dwell Developments? Where did that name come from?
So I was trying to visualize in my head, what's the biggest, best name that I can think of? Where do I want to be in the future? And I just thought, multiple dwellings and developments, I just thought, yeah, it suits multi-dwell developments.
Yeah, so that's the vision, is it? That's you're aspiring to do large scale developments, and I think fair to say, like when you're planning these things, it's important to have that vision of where you want to be,
Yeah.
not just what you want to be now. It's
Well, since I started small and doing bathrooms, I actually love doing bathrooms, and like doing developments would be great. And I'm going to do it in the future, but you're there for maybe 1 or 2 years and it's a lot of headaches, but it's still good. But yeah, I'll eventually build up to it.
absolutely. From your exposure with the block, I see you've done some collaboration with MYOB.
Well, yeah, um, they were actually looking for small businesses to do like a little video on. And yeah, I just applied and said I was on the block, and we spent a full day doing videos. We went to 3 job sites. I had a few trades on site as well. And yeah, the videos came out. I think they've reached over like 250,000 views on Facebook, both of them. So that's been crazy exposure.
All right. So tell me about the experience with MYOB. You're obviously a user of MYOB, so that's probably a good opportunity to talk about software and how that helps you with your business.
Yeah, 100%. As it started, I spoke to my accountant. I asked him, I'm starting my new company. What do you want me to do? He's like, I'm with MYOB, and it's a really good software. So he's put me onto MYOB. Really easy to learn. I really recommend it to everyone. Yeah, it's a really great product software to do invoices, quoting, capture receipts, and it sends it straight to your tray.
Are you using MYOB quite a lot on the run, like from the ease of your phone?
Yeah, well, I've got it on my laptop and I've also got the 2 apps on my phone. So one of the apps is the Capture app where you just go to your local hardware store. Yeah, you take a photo of the receipt and it sends it to your tray. And I've also got like an invoicing app there as well. So you can track any overdues or yeah, any invoices.
Yeah, right. So it's as easy as you just take a photo of a receipt
Yeah.
and it just goes straight in.
Yeah.
And what about quoting? Like, how does it work with quoting? So you provide quotes through MYOB as well?
Yeah, they've got a system. Yeah, I provide quotes, but I also link it up with my Excel spreadsheet and go through MYOB.
So you can do an Excel spreadsheet for a quote.
I do that separately. Yeah.
Yep. But then you're able to easily feed it through the MYOB operating system.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Oh, well, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah. Check out the videos as well on the Facebook.
That's fascinating. And I think it's important to, I guess, reflect on the common theme that's emerging from putting yourself out there. And it goes back to that 17, 18-year-old kid getting out of his mum's car, knocking on the door on the
Yeah.
construction site. It's very simple, and it's not simple. It's not a simple process to do that. It does take some courage to put yourself out there like that. But it shows you put yourself out there. It's amazing what can come back and return to you.
100%. You just can't be scared. For anyone that is starting a company, my advice is just don't be scared. Trial and error. Just get yourself out there because I've done it and look how it's panned out.
That's right. No, look, amazing stuff. So tell me about multi-dwell developments. What sort of work are you sort of into?
Well, as I said, I was just starting small. Building up cash flow. I've done maybe 12 bathrooms now, and yeah, I think I want to ramp it up and do some extensions and some homes. The only thing is, it's hard to quote to build homes because I don't have a portfolio from multi-dwell. That's someone starting out getting your builder's license. Just say I go do a quote for someone that wants to build a single or a double, but I don't have a portfolio to show. But even though I have built homes with other companies in like back in the day with JG Kings and 13 developments, why would someone want to choose me? So the thing is, I want to get into homes, but it's just hard getting that first build. That's the struggles. So what I'm thinking is I might have to buy some land, do a build as like a display home, so then I can start my portfolio. because otherwise, no one's just going to go with me rather than someone with a big portfolio.
Yeah, but you know what? And I've seen this firsthand, and I've actually experienced this firsthand. And I know what it's like to be in the shoes or the boots, if you like, of that person who is saying, look, I want you to quote my project. And then you have that discussion and you're so excited about it. And then you arrange a meeting with the client, you go over there, and then they say, oh, can we have a look at some of your completed projects? Or can we see your recently completed home that you've done before? And I like what you're saying and doing, because you're not hiding behind that fact. And what will happen, and as I say, I've seen this happen firsthand, I've experienced this in my former life as a builder. What will happen one day is somebody will have a builder who's done lots of work, and there's something not quite right with that builder, whether they are arrogant, whether they are lazy, or they can't be bothered responding in time. And then here is this young, keen, mature beyond his years builder with a Greek background, and then this client has Greek relatives or
Hmm.
just loves the dealings of that they're having with you. And that's that one moment where they say, you know what, I'm going to go with Jason because he got back to me. He turned up to site on time. He showed me through one of his completed bathrooms, and I want to help this guy become the vision that he's aspiring to be. Now, how you do that and make life so much easier for that, and anyone who's listening to this is what you need to do for that first job. That first job you make, you don't make much profit.
Yeah.
Now, you don't lose money, but what you do, when I say you don't make much profit, you spend countless hours and energy and time. When you're not building for that client, you're going above and beyond to help that client. You're having more discussions on the phone or in person with that client, or you're opening your books and saying it's transparent pricing, and I'm only going to make 10% on this job because I really want this job and I want to do a great job, and I want to be able to bring clients here and remember you as my first ever project that became the future of multi-dwell developments. That's what I want. And
100%.
if you do that, you're not 50-50 getting that job or 49-51. You're probably 98% chance of getting that job
Mhm.
each time.
Yeah, it will happen. I'm not too fussed because I know it's going to happen, whether it's with family or through myself or through a client. I'm just gradually enjoying the ride now because I've built up, like, I believe a good reputation with like the bathrooms. So it's a lot of word of mouth now that I'm going to quote jobs, which is pretty good.
Yeah, look, I say this all the time as well. Like, word of mouth referral is the greatest form of marketing you can do. So, and that works both ways. It works if people do a bad job, word of mouth just gets around. You know,
Mm.
every time someone has someone over and they say, oh, look, go check out a new bathroom. Oh, it's a shame about the builder. If you do a really good job, it's like, come have a look at this. And then you get their
Yeah,
bathroom, their cousin's bathroom, their friends' bathrooms, their parents' bathroom. Like, it just keeps growing.
100%.
Fascinating story. So you mentioned earlier about soccer. So when you're not busy building and growing multi-dwell developments, what do you like to do outside of work?
Yeah, as I said, yeah, grew up playing soccer. I played for Heidelberg here in the NPL and the Victorian Premier League. But I also at 18, I went and tried in Scotland for Hibernian and Kilmarnock in the Scottish Premier League youth team.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a great experience.
So how did that happen?
I went over with a tour called Melbourne Football Stars, and then we actually beat Rangers, one of their best teams, 3-1, and their coach nearly got sacked. And we were playing in snow. A lot of us hadn't seen snow before.
Now the Rangers, tell people that's the Celtic Rangers. They're one of the
So there's
premier
there's
soccer teams.
Celtic, there's Celtic and Rangers. They're the two rival clubs.
Yeah, right.
We versus Rangers in the snow, and we beat them 3-1. And then we drew with Hibernian Hibs. And then yeah, after that we came back to Melbourne, and then I went back to trial because I think they were happy. I played pretty good, and they wanted to see a bit more of me. But yeah, I didn't have my European passport at the time, and
That's a hell of an achievement.
yeah, it was pretty good. It was a great experience.
How long were you over there for?
It was around 3 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it
And what was that like?
was great culture. I think it goes dark there at like 4 or 5 p.m. But no, it was very green. The people were friendly. I made some really good memories down there.
So are you still playing soccer now?
Yeah, I just play locally in the lower leagues for Baronia. So it's a laugh with have a laugh with the boys, you know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just it's a social get together, keeps you fit, and
yeah,
yeah, plenty of connections and contacts as well.
yeah, 100%. But yeah, the work's taken over, you know. Come home, do invoices and quotes.
So I've seen online your Docklands project. So looks fascinating. Tell me about the Docklands project.
Yeah, Docklands project was awesome. It was a apartment in Docklands, level 8 in Lorimer Street with an awesome view. You know, you can see the water, you can see all the buildings.
So how did that project come about? Like the inquiry.
I was actually doing another Docklands. I was doing 3 bathrooms and a kitchen in another Docklands hotel. And then one of the neighbors, she had a friend that was moving into this building, but they needed an urgent builder. So yeah, I went and quoted it. I got the job that night and it was all on. It was full on. I had a deadline. I had like I think it was about a month to complete it.
On level 8.
Yeah, tight access, you know, all the materials. It was great learning. Next time
So
I got to allow a little bit more for the tight access.
and the time it takes to cart materials up in the lift.
Yeah.
So how do you price a job like that? From someone who's listening to this thinks, well, I'm doing a project in an apartment complex. Like, do you just allow extra
Actu-
days for
Actually, I forgot to say, in between all those jobs, because I had a lot of jobs, I actually did insurance for another year
oh really?
before I went. Yeah, I did insurance at a place called Tandem and PBS. So there, I was doing a lot of renos, and I was actually estimating the jobs myself. So I learnt how to estimate jobs just with like an Excel spreadsheet. So yeah, that was really good into running a business as well.
Yeah, so I guess that gave you that insight into being able to estimate labor and
Yeah.
material costs and things like that. And for insurance builders, estimating is largely the more complicated part of what they do, because you never know what you're dealing with behind the wall or behind the roof, like you're pulling something apart. So
Mm,
estimating in that environment would have been quite handy, I'd imagine.
yes. Yeah, it was great. So I learnt the estimating side of things there. I think if I start getting into the builds, you got to get the better software. What's it called? The Build Exact.
There's quite a few out there. There certainly is. So, what sort of advice would you have for a young Jason or someone listening to this who's thinking about getting into your kind of work? What's some advice for those guys?
I think just don't be scared and just go and do it. Like I didn't know I was going to become a builder. I didn't know I wanted to become a builder. I enjoyed the ride, you know. I just as carpentry into supervising and then, into getting your license. So I think just don't be scared. Do what you want to do, even if that's not in building, in engineering, architecture, whatever it is. Just you can't be scared in life, you know.
What's it like dealing with clients? Have you had much to do with dealing with architects and sort of knocking on those guys' doors and expressing interest to those guys yet?
Yeah, I'll start with the clients. Yeah, at multi-dwell developments, I pride myself on, client satisfaction. So because I'm a bit younger, I've still got the experience. I like to make sure I'm communicating well with the clients and giving them what they want.
So what does that look like? Like, is that in terms of doing a bathroom or an extension? Is that transparent?
Making sure the quality is good, you're communicating well with them, making sure at the start you're clear on what's in the scope of works, and yeah, just building an actual friendly relationship with them as well, so they can recommend you for future jobs.
Is there somebody that you talk to or pick their brain on decision making when it comes to making important decisions with your business?
Yeah, I've got a few mentors. One of them is my old boss, Shane Rixepi from 13 Developments. Whenever it's a big decision for like building and quoting, I always double check with him. But I've also got some other old school builders, family friends that I go to as well for advice as well.
Yeah, I think it's important just being able to call upon those people to ring them up and throw some ideas around at them or pick their brains on making those decisions.
100%.
All right, Jason, and what about dealing with architects? Like, what's that like for a young builder starting out?
Look, it's not easy. I've spoken and reached out to a couple of them, like through Instagram, just messaging them saying, "Hey, I'm a young keen builder. I'd love to do a build or something, do a builds or big renovations." And yeah, it's very hard to get in. I actually went and met with a guy, AT Architects. He was a lovely guy. I went and met him about 6 months ago, and then after the block, he reached out and he's like, "Look, I might have someone wants to build a home behind their house, I want you to quote it. So it's going to be a slow process, but hopefully, if any architects are listening, I'm young, keen, I want to build, I'm ready to go.
All right, we'll make it happen, and I think that's so important in not hiding behind that fact. And I can tell you now that quoting for AT architects, even if you don't get that job, and let's hope you do, but even if you don't get that job, that journey of meeting them,
Hmm.
providing them with a
Yeah.
transparent pricing, just having that interaction, if you take that as an education, that's worth all that time and effort. And you might even get the job. But if you don't, it doesn't go unrecognized.
Yeah. Well, actually, I went to his office, like as I was saying a few months ago, met him. Nothing happened for a few months. And then after the block, he reaches out, "Do you want to quote this job?" So it will happen. I'm just enjoying the journey and I can't wait to see where I'll be in a few years.
Yeah, it's just amazing how much you learn and the little lessons, they all add up to big lessons at the end of the day.
Yeah.
All right, Jay. So, what about the current environment? We're recording this in 2021. What are some of the struggles that you've had to experience firsthand as a builder?
The timber shortage. It's a really big crisis. I was just finished off a bathroom now. I went to Bunnings, couldn't get timber. So I went to a local timber yard and I'm like, please help me out. I need some timber. They're like, look, we'll help you out. Here's 10 lengths, 90 by 35, which is all I needed. We need to do something for the future in the construction industry.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. And what it's doing is it's slowing down the industry. We've been talking about it. The NBA has been talking about it. The HIA has been talking about it. The governments have been talking about it. But no one seems to be actually addressing the problem and doing anything about it. I mean, right now we're seeing crisis emerge over in Europe and China and the other parts of the world with factories shutting down. Then there's a power issue. Now we've got gas issues and supply issues with oil. Like, it just seems crazy that the population hasn't all of a sudden just increased twofold overnight. There's all these logistical problems that have added up. And like I say, everyone's talking about it, but no one's actually doing anything about it.
Well, I know a lot of like small builders now that because they can't get timber, they've got to revert to steel frame, which I think that in the future steel frame will be pretty big. But as like a chippy me, like I love timber. I know a lot of builders that love timber as well to build their houses with, but I can't imagine the big builders what they're going through if building big houses and you can't get the timber.
Yeah, well, look, we're in addressing this problem. We're in the process of launching an online marketplace in the next couple of weeks or months, and people will be able to sign up. And one of the pledges that people will make in supplying products and materials through our platform and our third-party logistic setup is that they'll have to make a pledge that they'll be able to provide those materials to you, not on an unrealistic basis, but if you provide sufficient notice, and let's face it, providing 16 weeks notice for a small builder
Hmm.
doesn't work.
It's ridiculous.
You can't operate a business under conditions having to order materials 16 weeks out. It's just unsustainable. So these are the things that the industry needs help with, and these are the stories that we want to get out there that send a message that we need help as an industry. We need to stick together and not just talk about it and then make a pledge to do something. We actually need to go ahead and do something about it and make some
100, yeah,
changes.
yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you, and it's good what you're trying to do, Aaron. I've seen you on the Instagram like promoting it. So yeah, keep it up. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Look, these are the things that it's a highlight of my week to catch up with real people like yourself who are having a go, giving the industry some fresh injection of fresh air and just trying to encourage people out there to stick at it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You started off in a small site, you've had a go, you've then pivoted, done some work health and safety training and had experience in that and just roll with the punches, as they say.
Hmm. It's never easy. I built up an apprentice for the last 6 months, and then he's finished up with me now. So I got to try and find someone else. So, but that I guess that comes with it.
And that hurts, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? And everyone's lost a good worker, and you think, oh, I've spent so much time and effort. I mean, what's that like? I used to hate it. Like I used to take it so personally. I was just like, here's my vision, right? And I can tell you and I catching up today, you're like this as well. Here's my vision. Here's where I want to be. This is what I'm investing all this time and energy and money into creating this. If you stick with me, you'll have this and that. We're going to have,
Mm.
good tools, good conditions, good clients, all this sort of stuff. And then one day they leave you.
I think it was, yeah, because I was just doing the bathrooms, and I think he wanted to learn more. And I said, just be patient, like it's going to come. We're going to be doing it. And then the day that he actually finished with me, I got so many calls for like big renos, like this one in Brighton that I might be getting. And like he's missed everything now. It just goes like that, you know?
It does, yeah. And it's just, yeah, it's a beast, the industry. It loves you one minute and hates you the next. And you've got a client who's such a great person one day, and then the next day you're
Mm.
thinking, who's this? So yeah, it's a hell of a beast and a hell of a journey. So, all right, well, look, I've loved this chat, Jace. It's been really nice to sit down and catch up with you today. I love the fact that you're able to be transparent, raw, just everything about you speaks transparency and honesty and integrity. Architects, designers, and anyone else who's listening, I encourage them to get into contact with Jason from Multi-12 Developments. And for those that are listening and want to get into contact with you and reach out to you, what's the best way to go about it, Jace?
Yeah, just find me on Instagram, Multi-12 Developments. I'm friendly. I can chat with anyone. If you're younger, you need advice, or older, and you want something done, yeah, just let me know. I'm keen to help out, keen to build relationships with people.
That's it. That's what it's about. So, Jason from Multi-12 Developments, thank you for coming on to Build Hatch, and look forward to watching this space continue in the future.
Thanks, Aaron. I really appreciate it, mate. You're doing big things. Keep it up, and yeah, we're heading for a bright future.
Well, that was another Build Hatch episode with myself and Jason from Multi-12 Developments. As usual, please check out our own Instagram page and other socials where you'll be able to learn more about our guests and some of the features of the work that we talk about. Have a great week, and you'll hear me again on the airwaves next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of Build Hatch.
You have experienced a Build Hatch developed production.